New week. I think this deserves a shaker. Yes, yes, yes. It is good to be here, if I do say so myself. It is a lovely Monday afternoon. This is the third day in the month of August, and I hope that you are approaching or, just getting into the month with as much gusto as you can. All right. It is time for Hard Facts on your number one talk station, 95.1 Nigeria Info. And I'm here, your host, that's SOMI, short for Somi, alongside radio's finest, Gabriel Spector. And we are getting into the roundtable conversations this afternoon. All right, Capital City, let's get into it. We have, as usual, on Mondays, the roundtable, which will run from now up until just before 5 o'clock, where we will then make way for other, topics that didn't make it to the news to be heard via sound bites. And that will take us to 5 o'clock, where we get into the conversation. And then 6 o'clock, where we hand the mic back to you. But for the purpose of the roundtable this afternoon, I can tell you that it's going to be quite the time in the studio. I have got two guests. One is joining me virtually. It's already, with us. And then the second one will be joining us shortly. Just had a bit of a hitch on his way in here. Hopefully he'll be in the studio any minute now. But we'll just get started with my guest who is with me. But before I introduce him, welcome once again. It's Roundtable it is the Roundtable here on Hard Facts, and what a weekend it has been. I don't know if you've been following the news, but if you haven't, let me just give you a quick rundown of the situation before we get into the topic. On the 28th of July, that was just last month, a delegation from the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, CBCN, sat down behind closed doors with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the presidential villa. And what follows has sparked a national debate over governance, protocol, and truth. Speaking on television, Archbishop Emeritus Cardinal John Onaiyekan revealed that the bishops presented a carefully deliberated submission warning that the nation is in severe distress over inflation, security, socioeconomic hardship, amongst others. According to the Cardinal, the president pushed back, defending his administration's trajectory and insisting that structural recovery is underway. But the State House has come up with a swift response, formally accusing Cardinal Onaiyekan of abuse of clerical privilege and asserting that the private diplomatic consultations require strict confidentiality. And they also pointed out that government interventions from student loan schemes under NEL Fund to wage disbursements are delivering measurable relief that critics casually overlook. Now, we're at the point where the Cardinal has come out and made a case after his meeting. The presidency is speaking back. Now, there are two fundamentally different visions of governance at play here, if you can refer to it that way. On the one hand, high-level statecraft, some say, requires confidential engagement. And when leaders grant private audiences, emerging immediately on national television to offer a selective account breaches trust and undermines constructive dialogue. And on the other hand, you're having faith leaders who represent millions of citizens living through intense economic strain, and they go about carrying an obligation of public transparency, not to flatter power, but to report grassroots realities directly. These two things are at play here, and that's why we're having the conversation. What happened with Cardinal Onaiyekan after the meeting with the president? Does it amount to abuse of privilege, or is it just a matter of transparency? Joining us to have this conversation this afternoon, one of my guests, the one who is around, is Bankole Ojo-Medubi. He's a highly regarded Nigerian TVET. You can look up what that means. And a workforce development specialist. He's worked with organizations including the United Nations, the International Trade Center, Rotary International, Coca-Cola Foundation, MasterCard Foundation, the Kingdom of Eswatini, and Bosch, amongst others. He's also recognized as a LinkedIn top voice in project management and one of Favicon's top 10 project management creators. He shares insights on leadership, operations, and professional growth with a community of more than 20,000 followers and has been featured across a number of dailies in the country. Mr. Bankole, good to have you on the show this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Okay, it's a long story how I managed to get him on the show today, but we can't get into that at the moment. I'm just grateful that you're able to join us. So let's just get straight into the conversation this afternoon. We are not here to, replay political outrage or trade personal attacks. We're basically stripping away the spin and trying to put both perspectives through a lens for us to adjudge what really and truly this conversation that the Cardinal has had with the people of Nigeria, well, with the president, first of all, and with the people of Nigeria, trying to ascertain what really and truly it amounts to. So let us set the facts and the data. First and foremost, you have Cardinal Onaiyekan coming out and speaking about a meeting that he had with the president. This is not the first time we are seeing this kind of, coming out to the press to say, okay, this is what happened. We had a meeting and all of that. Why do you think that there's particular outrage in this instance? Let's start with that.
Look, I do think the government has been overly sensitive about their response to this. And I do think, and this might surprise some people because not a lot of people are fans of this government. But I do think if you triangulate what both of them are saying, they are both smart individuals and they are both saying the truth from the perspective which they see it. And there's data to back that up. So the government thinks that they've done a good job so far. There are some numbers to back that up. The Nigerian stock market has been putting up record gains. The Naira has stabilized. There are certain economic indicators that are showing that there is some sort of economic recovery underway. But at the same time, after a record high of security incidents between 2021 and 2022, there was a slight dip in security incidents. And by security incidents, I talk about kidnappings, banditry, and so on. But it has also ticked up between 2024 to 2025. So that is also real. Another real thing that is happening is as a result of the hyperinflationary environment of the economy, businesses have been destroyed. A lot of businesses have been destroyed. And the thing with any system, which is what we are, the nation is a system. Even if something good happens, it takes a while to filter through the system. At the same time, when bad things happen, it takes a while to filter through the system. And what I feel is that you have two people who are seeing things from different perspectives and are speaking to it. I am very happy about this conversation. I'm fantastically happy about this conversation. I love something that the Cardinal said. He said, look, the economy is difficult. You can't expect us to be, I'm paraphrasing here, of course.
Yes.
You can't expect us to be having polite discussions about it. And what I feel is, and that's why I go to the point that I feel the government was a bit, overly sensitive about it. They should know this. They should know that even while there has been progress in some areas, it has not reached the common man enough. When they say inflation has gone down, I'll just use this as an example before I hand it back over to you. For example, if they say inflation has gone down or the rate of inflation has gone down, what it means is that it doesn't mean that the price of foodstuff is going down or whatever you're buying is going down. It means that the speed at which the prices are going up has slowed down. So it was going at 100 kilometers before. Now it's going at 80 kilometers. And for the government, they'll be like, oh, we tried. We reduced it from 100 kilometers to 80 kilometers.
Yes.
But for the people on the street, their prices are still going up. The important is that tomato was 20% cheaper last month. So I just want to say, so for me, if you triangulate the two things that both parties are saying, it makes absolute sense to me.
Okay. All right. So let's again look at what both sides are saying. You've spoken to some extent to what the Cardinal said. Let's speak to what the critique of the Cardinal coming from the presidency, especially by way of the senior special assistant, one of the president's aides. He said that these are, or rather the conversations that were had were more confidential in a way. There was another word that he used. There was another way he described it. He said that the Catholic bishops do not represent the totality of Nigerians and cannot speak to the truth of what Nigerians, again I'm paraphrasing, of what Nigerians are dealing with, right? It's two things at play here. One of them is the critique of the fact that the bishops were trying to speak for the people. And secondly, the fact that they came out to talk about this, or the cardinal specifically came out to talk about this at all. Now, they presented a formal position document based on their parish observations. Do you think that that is a fair enough assessment for them to be able to work with, to present to the president? Or do you think they should have been, a little more... what's the word now? Conservative in what it is that they presented to the president?
I think I'll just say something, then I'll address the other things, which is I think a lot of our religious leaders have been conservative enough. I think they should be more liberal with their commentary on what's going on in the country. And I think the country will be better for it. And I will explain why. The church, I found this stat out recently. The church is, I think, the highest employer of Nigerian labor. Highest employer of Nigerian labor. And that doesn't count the people that use the church services. And when I say by church services, I also mean attending church, and whatever charitable actions the church might take. So they are a substantial interest group in the Nigerian society. And so they should have an opinion. And that opinion should not be taken lightly. I would look at it as a feedback mechanism. These are the people, and the reason why it's important to highlight the fact that the church occupies two important roles is that, one, you have people who go to the church, so they perform a societal function, of community and all that. But also, as an employer of labor, that means they also have an idea of how with the same problems that the private sector is dealing with. All right?
Yeah.
So they are giving you two helpful perspectives at scale. We're talking millions. So I don't think it's something I don't think their opinion should be something that should be ignored or belittled. In terms of the issue of whether the discussion should be more diplomatic, I think that is majoring in minors. It's really important to focus on the real issues here. We have a record number of children who are out of school. So one of the things that I believe the council brought up was the issue of insecurity.
Yes.
Everybody talks about the effect of insecurity, but there are some root causes. Root causes like you have a situation where there's a record number of out-of-school children who are going to become out-of-school teenagers, who are going to become uneducated adults. What are we going to do with them? We have an issue of the businesses that have, in the private sector, one of the things that has been sad is the antagonistic approach of some government agencies to the growth of businesses. It's almost as if once some businesses rise to a certain level, there's now a target on their back. They now get regulated to the point where, and here's what happens when you do that. For the business to survive, they will have to sack employees. What happens to, so that is now adding to the unemployed cohort. I'm very sure the Catholic Church is aware of this, the pressure that a lot of businesses are dealing with. And all these things are things that cannot be ignored. And instead of discussing how it was said, where it was said, who was supposed to hear it or not hear it, I think that everybody needs to come together. And look, I don't know whether it's of any comfort to anyone. The whole world is dealing with a bit of economic turmoil right now. So it's not as if Nigeria has its unique problems, but there's also a very difficult economic situation all around the world. Europe, parts of Asia, even the US has what it's dealing with. But we have our unique issues, and it's very important to hear from all voices so that we can come together and start dealing with these things. Resolving the education gap is not a small thing. Being able to build an environment that is productive, that is building, that is spawning good companies that are able to employ a lot of people is not an easy thing. And it is going to take a lot of effort. So the last thing on a lot of people's minds is the tone the tone in which someone is saying what is obvious to a lot of people.
Okay.
I will repeat again. There are some things that I think are heading in the right direction. I know some people who are huge critics of this government will want to disagree, but there are some really good things that are beginning to happen. But it's going to take time for the streets to be able for it to filter down to people. And anything that can be done to accelerate that will be a good thing.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Bankole. Let's just take time out to introduce two people. Gabriel came in while Mr. Bankole was in this, was in the analysis bit. So, Gabriel, hi. How are you doing?
Hi, Somi.
Very well.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Abuja Radio's finest is sat here with us in the studio. But another person who's also just walked in recently is our second guest on the show this afternoon. He is a legal practitioner, policy analyst, governance and public affairs communicator, as well as the national legal advisor of the APC Professionals Forum. Ekwunife Gerald Ogbonnaya is with us in the studio. Hello, welcome.
Hi, Somi. Thanks for having me. Mr. Gabriel, it's a pleasure meeting you for the first time.
Pleased to meet you too.
And it's a good thing you are here because when I heard you came in late too, I felt less guilty.
No. He's been around. He just...
Don't mind
but you
me.
should be apologizing.
I'm looking for excuses.
Obviously.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Something came up last minute. I couldn't delegate.
Okay.
I had to attend to it personally.
You're welcome.
All right.
Sorry.
But you're here now. So let's just get straight into the conversation. Of course, you know what we're talking about. Let me just... For you, the question is, the presidency is stating that the administration's macroeconomic data shows structural progress that critics overlook. As a matter of fact, one of the critiques given to the cardinal was something along these lines. And so we have that part where there is even when the cardinal was, on the television interview, he mentioned something of a bit of an insulation of the president because he doesn't agree that what is happening is what is happening. He insists that there are progresses that have been made, and that what the bishops were saying could not possibly be the true picture of things. And we've had conversations over and over again about the macroeconomic data. Mr. Bankole even spoke to a few things that we're seated would take some time to show up. But in the real sense, what specific ground level metrics beyond the macro indices that we are seeing and been hearing for the past 3 years, what specific ground level metrics can this administration provide today to faith-based and civil groups that these reforms are actually delivering relief? Otherwise, we'll keep having this conversation over and over again. And just so that we don't get into that point, it's been 3 years going on 4. What are the chances that we will not be having this conversation two or three more years down the line, if this administration does come back into power. So it is always a question of what real-time metrics can people use so that you don't have another delegation of clerics or any other group, interest groups who are speaking for Nigerians going and then coming up against this brick wall of, oh no, we're making progress.
Okay, thank you, Somi, once again, and I apologize again for running in late. I do not know, Somi, any other ground level metrics we are looking for. Economics is a science, right? It is a science. You do A, you get B. Sometimes you mix A with B, you get a C. Now, sometimes we living in a human society, sometimes unintended, exigencies crop up to affect, the results even when you apply those, methods. Economics, just like, the development expert fellow colleague, I was listening when I was rushing in, he has mentioned it. You can't deny it. Those metrics are already out. It's called by certain respectable, non-aligned, thankfully non-Nigerian based or political groups, World Bank, African Development Bank, the World Trade Organization, IMF, and so many others. In Nigeria, we have the NBS and all others. They are telling you that the government is getting it right. That they are giving you all the statistics. For the first time, your country, unlike before, is exporting far much more than it is what? Importing. It's telling you that in spite of all this, we hear real problems, yes, there's a whole lot of economic activities going on in the same country. Challenged by insecurity, yes. Yes, the purchasing power of the average Nigerian, because of an age-old reform that has been, finally implemented. Years ago, we were crying, asking for it. Civil society, respected voices. Finally, it's been done. That's what's affecting the average Nigerian. And the whole world of economists are agreed that when you touch such sensitive policy as this government has done, it will first cause a ruckus. It will first cause crisis before the healing starts. But for now, everything is adding up. The other day, just like I listened to her today, one of our brightest stars, Madam Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, I heard her saying, praise the government, praise Cardoso. If you are praising Cardoso, you are praising the government. CBN is getting it right. Others are saying, this other group is getting it right. Those are the macroeconomic indicators. That is what you asked for. I've forgotten how you phrased it. That's what, in science, you don't do uru to the answer. They are all telling you, this experiment so far, it's not yet uhuru, but so far you are getting it right. And I'm not an economist. I just, learn to speak grammar like some of you people. So, but I can tell you that I try to read. I try to follow. Other economists of the world that turned the corner went this path. In fact, I'm sorry, and I don't want to be insensitive, okay? I don't want to be insensitive to the sufferings of Nigeria because I'm going through it myself. But I will tell you that what we are suffering, many other countries that we hail today went through far worse. For example, outside, just an instance.
Okay.
China. Asian tiger today. They are poking their economic fingers in America's eye. We all know that the struggle right now is when, not whether. When will China finally knock America down to the second position in the pecking order of global economy? But the story we hear, and don't listen to this APC man, right? Press your Google button if you know your way around Google and ask, what was the price that Chinese citizens paid to get to where they are today? I'm not advocating again that we must pay the same amount of price. But I am saying Singapore and China, you name them, countries that were once badly run, economies that were once in the doldrum, they didn't suddenly turn the corner because one political superstar came and pressed the magic button and everything became okay. We hear millions died.
Okay.
And over time, and this over time wasn't 4 years. 1 year, 2 years, some people say 4 years is enough. I don't know about that, but I know that other countries coming from a similar background, it took them years. Malaysia, it took them years. They were lucky to have started far earlier than us. So to answer your question very briefly, I think the indicators are there. The stock market is speaking. Your Naira, unlike before, has stabilized. Comparatively, it's still high, although economy said that it should be somewhere not less than 600, 700. That's the real, value of the Naira. But it's been stable for about 2-3 years. And all economists, name them, Nigerian and abroad, they're saying they're getting it right.
It's very interesting that we're having this conversation in person, Mr. Gerald. Pleased to meet you in person.
Same here.
After such a long time.
Yeah.
Now, let's come back a bit. Since we have our other guest,
Mr. Bankole.
Mr. Bankole, has spoken extensively about you just spoke on the economy right now, but let's go back with you. Let's go back to where we started from. The bishops in a private, high-stakes consultative meeting with the president. And now we are looking at people who are in the faith, sector, if I can put it that way, for lack of better words. Now, they have a duty to the people they lead, people they represent. Do you think that the presidency was expecting something that it shouldn't from this set of persons? Because when the photo ops are out, when the pictures are out, you see the president and bishops in a picture together. And, Nigerians go on. The archbishops have gone to meet the president. They've had conversations. And the presidency, from all indicators, expected that the bishops will be mum on the result of the meeting, according to statements that have been made. So do you think that there was a mismatch there? Maybe if they wanted people they can bounce ideas off, they can discuss these policies and check back on what it is that Nigerians are saying. Maybe they should have invited some other persons, not people who actually have a duty to the people, like bishops, religious leaders, who, by the way, they have been criticized over and over again that they like to collect tithes and offering. They do not speak truth to power. And now we have some person, a religious leader, now he said Nigerians are suffering. And he's gotten serious knocks from the presidency. Do you think there's a mismatch there?
Okay, I think I should clear up a few things from where I'm standing and how I'm seeing things.
Please go ahead.
I am not sure, there's a mismatch. I'm not sure anybody, from the presidency quarreled with, the Cardinal Bishop Onaiyekan and his team, all right, for speaking their minds or, quote and unquote, the minds of the people they lead.
But there were harsh statements after the Cardinal granted the interview.
Can I just read verbatim? Okay. Mr. Temitope Ajayi, Senior Special Advisor to President Tinubu. I'm reading the last part of the notice that was put out, or the statement that was put out. Reciprocity should have dictated that confidentiality and dignity of the engagement. Let me start from up top. The Catholic bishop discharged what they considered their moral obligation by presenting their concerns to the president. President Tinubu, for his part, accorded them respect by granting them an audience and responding to every issue they raised. That exchange reflected the civility expected in a constitutional democracy. Then he went ahead to say, reciprocity should have dictated that the confidentiality and dignity of that engagement be preserved. As such, it was inappropriate for one of the participants to appear on national television almost immediately to offer his own version of what was essentially a private conversation with the president. He said clerical office carries privileges, but it also imposes obligations. Among the qualities the scripture require of bishops are temperance, maturity, self-restraint, and the wisdom to remain above needless public controversy. These virtues become even more important when dealing with matters of state. Public influence should be exercised with discretion. not by converting privileged access into a platform for post-meeting commentary. Those were the words of Temitope Ajayi. Because
and if you ask me,
that is a
so you don't
bit of a quarrelsome statement.
No, it's
don't
not
you
quarrelsome. That is my take. Disagreement. It's a disagreement. And if you ask
from
me,
the presidency, the presidency disagreeing with you says a lot.
and
we're not talking about no mere person here. We're talking about an archbishop.
yes.
So these are top level individuals, or rather institutions. Cardinal Onaiyekan represents a high office in
Very high.
Nigeria's Christian faith
Nigeria.
and beyond Nigeria, right? So these are high stakes individuals here, or offices here. And when a meeting was just happened, somebody grants an interview and says, "These are the things that were discussed in that meeting. This is my position on what was discussed." The presidency comes back and says, "Oh no, what you did was wrong."
You should
and
have
goes on to say you were immature. I mean, no.
Okay.
So I beg your pardon.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, if they said the office of a clerical office demands this, and this, in this context, it means you're inadvertently saying this person didn't exhibit those traits.
And I ask you a question.
Yes,
is
please.
it wrong to call out the very revered Cardinal Bishop Onaiyekan when he errs?
Let's
Did
he err?
So let me come in again. The way I see this, it's a disagreement, and I ask you a question: what form of government are we practicing? Democracy, right? Is disagreement allowed in democracy or not? I think it is.
Well, you
But,
would present that opinion from the point of this senior special assistant who was criticizing the cardinal for coming out to say this is what happened. Are you saying that he shouldn't have come out after the meeting with the because that's what this says?
I will tell you
this.
what.
He shouldn't have come
Good
out
question.
to say the things that happened in the meeting.
Fantastic question. Which the first time you shared the topic, I saw confidentiality. I got thinking. Okay, question, bigger question from me, rhetorical question. Everything discussed in, you use the word right from the beginning, private meeting, right? With the president. It's not a conference, not a seminar. Everything discussed in a private meeting with the president, is it for public consumption? Obviously, the answer is no. So, which is confidential and which isn't? I'll tell you this, Somi and Gabriel, and listening Nigerians. In this country, you and I have watched countless, innumerable number of private individuals, corporate individuals, religious individuals, and groups visit the president. Not just this president, different president. I recall very vividly, not too long ago, the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, led by Bishop Wale Oke, visited in the heat at the beginning of this so-called Christian genocide.
Right.
He visited. There is no conversation as sensitive as that held by the PFN and the president. In fact, this one is, insecurity very serious, hardship very serious, but that was that Christians were being not only killed, but aided by government authorities, because that's what Christian genocide connotes, state-backed genocide of a particular faith group. That's so sensitive. I ask you a question. Was there a controversy from that outing? I watched. PFN poured their hearts. Just like this one, the presidency released clips, statement by the visiting team and response by the president. And after the meeting, the interface, the PFN came out and Wale Oke issued a statement. I recall, very diplomatic, but still on the issue. Very respectful and sensitive. He said, as far as we are concerned, whether they are backed by states or not, or some states or not, we just want the government to act. But I can tell you, there is one talking point Wale Oke, the Reverend, would have used the other time. This controversy we're having now would have been a child's play. So I go to it. We talked about confidentiality and dignity. So I'm going to say generally, everything you discuss in a private meeting, come on, Gabriel, Somi, if you have We are 3 here. We're 4. So if you and I step out as guys and we have a private meeting, tete at tete, and you come inside and share it with the ladies, and it was not supposed to be shared, what do you think? How would I feel? So I'm going to say quickly, the truth is this. Every other delegation and groups I've seen visit the president, former president, or other presidents of other countries. When they come out, all those qualities mentioned by Temitope Ajayi, temperance, this should play in you knowing which you should release. There is a pattern I've noticed over the years. You come, you give the journalists that will hound you a teaser. You don't go to the heart of the call. This is basic diplomatic rule.
Right.
You give the teaser. Please, this is very important. Let me land on that. You give the teaser, but here is what I heard. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, meeting ends, there is a TV interview, and I hear 2 words that worried me, or 2 interpretations that worried me. It did worry me. I leave you to decide. 1, I think I heard, I hope I'm not wrong, the very Reverend Cardinal Bishop say the meeting was unproductive. 1 word. Number 2, I heard another thing which was more, troubling as it is telling for me. Number 2, the statement that the interpretation, the Cardinal's personal interpretation to President Tinubu saying that in politics all is fair. And the interviewer asked him, and both of them concluded that what that means is that you can do anything you like. Let me now paraphrase. You can create a one-party state, you can shoot, you can kill. That's the meaning of that statement, all is fair. That worries me, because I do not believe that any basically educated person sitting before Mr. President, within context of that statement, when he said, no, I am not supposed to pamper opposition. INEC is fair. INEC is not biased. They are afraid of their own goals. Issues are happening in politics, but I will wrestle them. He said, I will wrestle them. I will compete with them. In politics, all is fair. Within that context, if you leave that meeting as a basically educated person, then you come out on TV to say that what that means is that the president is saying that he is going to use any unlawful, lawless means. That is actually, Somi, the heart of all those responses by the presidency.
Mr. Gerald, so
we need to come. We need to come to Mr. Bankole.
I want to get that point.
No,
we will read out some of what the Cardinal said as we have it here.
But he didn't say verbatim that the meeting was unproductive. He did not say that.
Okay.
Yes, the Cardinal never said the meeting was unproductive. He did push back and argue that the president, he said the president pushed back and argued with the bishop's assessment of the country. That is said.
All is fair.
But he never mentioned that the meeting was unruled. Facts check that. That as well. Okay. All right. So Somi, go on to you.
All right. Mr. Bankole, thank you so much. I hope you've been hearing us very clearly.
Yes, I have.
Okay, yes, fantastic. Anything you want to say to what Mr. Gerald has said so far about the assessment of the meeting and the words that the Cardinal said before we move to the next question?
I just want to, I thank you very much. It's been a really interesting conversation. I've been glad to hear what you guys have been saying. My observation, really, from Gerald, I think, is interpreting. And I think, well, it's politics, so we shouldn't be shocked. But I think what is happening is we're interpreting the Cardinal's actions that we're saying he did not do what would I call it now, politically proper, and then interpreting it in moral terms, that he did not do what was right, whether what he did was right or wrong. Well, what I am hearing is that for politicians, they felt what he did was not proper by political standards. From a moral, so in that case, I feel like the response that came out from the presidency, once again, I've said, it was they were being unnecessarily sensitive about it. I don't think this is the first day they've ever been criticized. I wonder why they are writing this. The statement is like what, 1,000, 2,000 words. I don't think that was necessary. But what the Cardinal came out and said is appropriate. As far as we are concerned, there was nothing morally wrong with it. And there's something that is key. Yes, there are things that should be kept, private, confidential, and so on. But it is very hard, especially in the climate of the Nigerian government that we have all grown up, all of us in this discussion have grown up in, and people who are listening, we've all grown up in this. The Nigerian government will only benefit from more transparency than less transparency. So for us to say, due to political norms or what is proper politically, the cardinal should not have come out and stated his opinion of the meeting, and using scripture to cast it in a negative light, I think that is extremely wrong and was totally off the mark. I just wanted to add that to the discussion.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Bankole and Gerald, so far. If you're just joining us, the conversation is looking at the Presidency-Onaiyekan clash, looking at the response from the presidency after Colonel Onaiyekan went on TV following a meeting with the president. And the question we're trying to ask or answer today is the move by Cardinal Onaiyekan, did it translate to abuse of privilege, as is being stated, clerical privilege, or was he just being transparent and open? When we come back after the news at the top of the hour, we will take some calls and then answer one final question. Perhaps the problem is the disagreement on the method. What do other countries or more mature democracies do? We'll be looking to answer that question as well, so that we don't constantly have this position where you're having, these disagreements and spats here and there in terms of responses to meetings by presidents. We'll come back after this commercial. Stay with us.
Every generation is remembered by the voices.
Audio